Today we're going to continue with our focus on the breath and the core and the spine and the extremities. We'll start the practice where we ended last time. So bring yourself onto your back, long on your mat, lengthening out through your legs in relaxation pose. If you have trouble with your low back, it may not feel comfortable for you to have your legs long, so you can always bend your knees and drop your knees in towards each other. As you find where your legs and your spine are comfortable and your shoulders are broad underneath you, let your eyes close. And bring one or both hands to rest on your low belly so that you have your thumb about level with your belly button. Starting with breathing, with pranayama. Breathing in and out through your nose and locating, directing the breath into the belly, into the hands. So as you inhale, you feel your belly expand, rise open, and as you exhale, you feel the belly release, drop back towards the spine, towards the ground. If you haven't already started to shift into Ujjayi pranayama, victorious or ocean-sounding breath, then make that transition. Narrow your throat slightly so that as you breathe in and out through your nose, you hear your breath in your throat like wind through a tunnel or the ocean in a shell. Taking this time here to tune into the sound of the breath so that it sounds fairly even and steady. The quality of the breath as you hear it in your throat is even. And also listening for evenness between the inhale and the exhale, that the length of the breath coming in and going out is about the same. So you create internal balance with this breathing, both by the calming sound and also by the evenness of the inhale and the exhale to each other. Being aware not only of the front body where your hands rest, but also of your low back. So you're expanding the inhale into the pelvic floor, the low belly, the low back. And you may already start to feel the breath rising up into the ribs. It may be that your breath naturally expands into your upper chest and your ribs. So seeing in these last few breaths of focusing it in the belly, if you can let the upper ribs and chest stay quiet and relaxed, and just breathe in and out of the belly. So we're applying Ujjayi pranayama to Dirgha pranayama, which is a complete or 3-part breath, starting the first part of the breath down in the lowest part of the torso. This next time that you inhale and you feel that expansion in the lowest part, then continue to inhale and allow the rib cage to open so that you feel the low ribs and mid ribs expand. And to tune into that, bring your hands to rest, one on each side of your ribs. You may need to walk your elbows out wider to where your palms can rest flat. Breathing your belly and low back open, and then continuing to breathe up into your ribs and feeling how the bony ribs separate, the muscles between them expand open, and your whole rib cage stretches out from center multidimensionally. So you can feel your ribs dropping into the ground in the back and out to the sides, towards your upper arms, and also up into your hands. Getting a sense of the breath coming in on the inhale, filling from the pelvic floor through low belly and low back, and then into the rib cage, from the lowest ribs up towards the topmost ribs. So you're starting to move automatically into the 3rd part of Dirgha pranayama, which is the collarbones and the upper shoulders and chest, behind the shoulder blades. If you're not sure whether or not you're breathing all the way up into the collarbones, then you can bring a hand there to feel that. Direct your breath there. Getting a sense on the inhale of filling from the bottom to the top, from the pelvis to the neck. And then on the exhale, releasing from the neck, back down through the ribs, back down to the belly. So the belly is the first to expand and the last to release. This is a great practice for settling yourself down to sleep, focusing your mind on the movement of the breath in and out, the quality of the breath. But for today, we're going to apply it. We're going to move with the breath. So this next time that you exhale and you can feel your belly tuck down towards your back, draw your legs up off the ground and hold on to the back of your thighs or your shins, whatever is the easier connection for you. Keep your breath going as you make this transition. You start to move. See if you can continue that full breath in and out of the body, keeping the steady sound. Check in with your back and see what's the best option for you for massaging your back. So you might want to start with just circling your knees a little bit, massaging your sacrum. Then if you feel you can take it a little bit bigger, take your body side to side. So you're massaging along your low back, rocking a little bit side to side. If it works for your spine, then begin to move along the length of your spine, from your sacrum up to your shoulders, so you're not putting pressure on your neck. If that doesn't work, just continue with rocking side to side. Whichever way you're moving, whichever way you're rocking and massaging your back, use your breath. Connect your breath into the movement. So if you're rocking along the length of your spine, inhale one way and exhale the other. Letting your jaw stay relaxed, shoulders broad, using your breath to move you. This next time you come upright, so either rock and roll up or roll to the side and come up, settle yourself once you're upright into a comfortable sitting posture. So if cross-legged isn't easy for you, then you might need to sit up on a blanket or a block or even come to kneeling. Find where your torso is really long. You have lots of room for the breath. And in that transition, as you're getting yourself set up, see if you can keep the flowing breath with you. The balance of the inhale and the exhale, the sound in the throat. And once you're upright and you've established your foundation in your seat, then feel the length of your spine growing up out of the seat, as though the back of your skull is being drawn upwards. Filtering your inhale all the way down to the pelvic floor, the low belly, the low back, and letting it expand upwards from there. So it's just a little more energy, obviously, holding yourself upright than when you were lying on the ground, but the breathing is the same. As you bring your palms together at your heart in Atmanjali Mudra, use the connection of your thumbs in towards your sternum, your chest, to remind your sternum to lift up, so that the bottom ribs have more space to expand, the lungs have more room to move. You can take a deeper breath as the front body opens. Slide your shoulders down onto your back. Close your eyes if you can, or look down towards the ground, and bring your inner eye, your awareness, into how you are in this moment. As you come out of that conscious breathing practice and into sitting upright, do you have any awareness in your body? Anything that's going on for you in your life right now? And if you find that any of those awarenesses are distracting, use your next few exhales to let them go, to release them out. And use your inhales to bring yourself more present. If you're feeling something in your body, you may want to dedicate your practice to steering your energy to that area of your body. We're going to tune in to infinite creative consciousness and the divine wisdom within. So Om Namo Gurudev Namo, the Adi mantra, is a way of acknowledging and tuning into your inner wisdom and the wisdom of the teachers that brought the practice to us today. If you're not quite ready to make sound, absorb the meaning. If you're joining in with your voice, take a breath in for the first of 3. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om As you inhale, lift your arms straight up, stretch tall, and as you exhale, reach your arms back behind you. Continue circling your arms with your breath, inhaling up in front, exhaling, stretching back behind you to open across the chest. And using the simple circle action to circulate your breath through your body and to check in with your shoulders to find out what you have stacked on your shoulders that you can drop off, and any sensations or sounds that you have in your shoulder joints themselves. And this next time that you bring your arms about shoulder level, pause there, turn your palms to face forward, stretch your fingers back and the heels of your hands out, stretch your arms back behind you. See if you can get a big stretch across your chest. We're going to open the face and jaw out. So as you inhale, stretch your tongue out, open your eyes and your mouth really wide, and then as you exhale, shake it out with as much sound as you're willing to make. Good. One more. Inhale, stretch wide, and exhale, shake it loose. Good. So keeping that looseness in your face and your sense of humor with you as we move forward into the practice is key. Come onto your back again. So in this level, we're not even going to get off the floor. So as you come onto your back, bring your head in towards the center if you're working with other people, and draw your knees in towards you as you settle your back onto the ground. Hold onto your shins or the backs of your thighs and find where your shoulder blades are underneath you. So determine how you're holding your legs by keeping your shoulders broad under your back. And then take a few breaths, resettling into that ocean-sounding breath. So you're breathing into your belly and your ribs and your upper chest on the inhale, and then exhaling from the upper chest back down. And as you're exhaling and emptying, draw your thighs in towards you as though the pressure of the thighs is helping to press the air out of the body. Checking that the back of your neck is long so your chin isn't sticking up too high, and it's also not jammed down into your throat. And as you get that slow, steady, ocean-sounding breath going, we're going to move the body with the breath. So this next time that you inhale and you feel the torso expand, interlace your fingers if they're not already interlaced, and turn your hands inside out as you stretch them above your head. And as you reach your arms up, reach the heels of your feet up towards the sky, so you lengthen your legs, finding a stretch through the backs of your legs. And then with your next exhale, come back into your tuck pose. Bring your hands onto your shins or the backs of your thighs and draw in. If you're able to keep your hands interlaced throughout, it makes it more efficient, but just see what you need to do. Inhale as you stretch up into an L shape, reaching the heels of your feet up and the heels of your hands up overhead, and exhale and tuck back in as though you're pressing the air out with that tuck, keeping your back and your head resting on the ground as your foundation to stretch up and out from and to tuck back into. When you stretch your arms up above your head as you inhale, if your shoulders are open, your little fingers will come close to the ground. So find that stretch through your shoulders, through your elbows, through the heels of your hands, opening your fingers out. And when you stretch the heels of your feet up, at the same time that you're stretching your arms up, draw your toes down towards you so you get more space opening in the backs of the legs. This next time that you tuck in, unlace your fingers if they're laced, and then take your first two fingers and slide them between your big toe and your second toe so that you're hooking your big toes with your first two fingers, palms of your hands facing each other. When you get that strong grip, then start to reach the heels of your feet up towards the sky. When you stretch up, your sacrum, your butt, and your shoulders are probably going to come off the ground unless you're really flexible in the backs of your legs. So that's fine, as long as you can keep your balance. Work with that. The knees are also probably pretty bent, so just work with that and start to create a little bit more length through the heels, through the backs of the legs, by breathing into it. So notice in this transition, if you lost your breath, use that ocean-sounding breath and the steadiness of the breath to find your edge, the place where any more is too much, you're creating more tension than you're releasing, and any less is not bringing you into a place of change. So finding the place for you, that's your edge. And when you breathe into that, you might find it shifts out. You can stretch your heels up a little bit more. As you're looking up at your feet, holding your big toes will pull the big toes down lower. So play with drawing the little toes so all of your 10 toes are about the same plane. Little toe side of the foot drawing down, which may then bring your feet into a V shape. If that happens, see if you can bring them parallel so that the middle of your feet are parallel to each other. And your feet are about a fist width apart. Big toes are about a fist width apart, inner heels are a little wider. When you get your feet parallel and the toes in an even plane and the heels stretching up and you're at your edge and you're able to breathe, take a look and see where your knees are. Notice if your knees have rolled in or out and see if you can start to align the middle knees with the middle toes. And notice that little change. If you do make a change, what it does to the stretch that you're feeling in the backs of your legs and also what it does to your feet. Looking for, moving towards greater and greater symmetry and alignment. Middle of the toes, ankles, knees, and front hip bones, all in line. And then to deepen this a little bit more, nearly there, staying with the intensity, to deepen it a little bit more, take your thigh muscles and move your thigh bones away from your belly, just enough that you can breathe into. So it might just be a thought that's enough to get there. Then think of taking your tailbone back towards the ground, broadening your sacrum, your low back onto the ground with the strength of your core. And again, just do that enough that you can breathe into it. If you're not breathing, then you're too far. Again, only go to the place where you can breathe, where you're not clenching your jaw. Give that one more inhale. And this next time that you exhale, relax your legs, draw them back in towards you. Let go of that hamstring stretch. And as you tuck your knees back towards you, bring both hands to your right shin. So bring your right hand lower, down by your ankle, and your left hand by your knee. And use the separation of your hands to align your toes, your ankle, your knee, your hip, and your right shoulder. So you're all in one line. Then use your arms to draw down. Draw your right thigh down. Feel how that presses your low back into the ground, shoulders broad. Then lengthen up through your left leg, just as much as you can. If you need to, bend your knee, that's fine. Now we're going to change the breath a little bit. Still inhaling through your nose, but as you exhale, let your jaw open. And exhale through your mouth so it's and feel as you inhale that your belly expands. Just like we did at the very beginning with the breath, let your belly open. And then as you exhale through your mouth, scoop your belly down into your back, press it down. Engage your abdominal muscles into your back towards the floor. If you're not sure if that's happening, bring your left hand to feel your belly so you know. Then the next time you're exhaling, take your left foot away from your head towards the bottom edge of the mat and just go as far as your low back doesn't arch off the ground. Doesn't matter if you reach the ground. And when you get to that farthest point, inhale and lift your leg back up. And then exhale and extend it out. If you're feeling any tension in your low back, you're probably going too far. But you can also, on the movement back to center, bend your knee if that helps release your low back. So inhaling, lift up. Exhaling to extend out. And if you're not sure what's going on in your belly, bring your left hand to feel it. Otherwise, use both hands to draw your right thigh down so that your low back stays planted. Bring your shoulder blades, both shoulder blades, underneath you. And when you're lifting your left leg up this next time, look at it and see that your toes point at your left shoulder instead of off the left side of your mat. So you're aligning all of your joints, all of your bones on the left side. And even though what's visibly moving is your leg, feel that it's the strength of the core that's making that possible. When you lift up this next time, switch sides. As you draw your left knee in, bring both hands to your left shin, so your left hand is lower by your ankle and your right hand is by your knee. So when you bring your left hand lower by your ankle, that helps bring the ankle in line and gets your right hand out of the way so you can move your right leg. So same thing on this side. Inhale through your nose as you lift your leg up, and exhale, scoop your belly down as you extend your leg away. Letting the jaw open, focusing on a steady sound out through the mouth. And if you find any little shaking in that sound as you get towards the end of the exhale, that's all right. That's just the core strengthening. With this, the slower that you go, the better. The more you're learning how to pace the breath, and also the greater strength you're developing in your core. So don't be in a rush with these. Checking the next time that you lift your right leg up, that you have the alignment in the bones of your leg so that the middle of your toes line up with your ankle, your knee, your hip, and your right shoulder. So you're pointing your toes at your right shoulder. If you want a little more energy in these one-legged water wheel leg lifts, then you can reach through the heel and lengthen out through the leg. If you're feeling that's a bit too much, feel free to bend your knee, soften your knee so that you can focus on the core. That's the main emphasis here. This next time that you lift your leg up, bend your right knee in towards your body and bring your hands down alongside your hips, arms long by your sides. And with your palms facing the ground, push the ground away with your hands so that you can feel your low back tucks a little deeper into the ground, planting your low back. Take both legs up into the air, and again, just as long as they go without a whole lot of struggle. So if you have a bend, that's fine. And draw them together like you're a mermaid or a merman so that your legs are one unit. And as you exhale, take both legs away, but scoop your belly down. Feel it with your hand. And when you get to your farthest point, bend your knees this time. And draw your bent knees in towards your belly as you inhale, lengthening up once your knees are towards your belly. And then exhale, extend out through your legs, long legs. Scoop your belly down. Feel it with your hand. And just go as far as your belly doesn't lift. Your back does not arch off the ground. So even if you only go a fraction from vertical, doesn't matter. You're still strengthening your core. So don't get involved in how far your legs go. And when you feel that your belly is doing what you think it's doing, you can feel it with your hand. Then bring your hand back down by your side and use your hands, both hands, pushing the ground away to help you keep your low back safe and tucked into the ground. Continue doing 3 more in your pace. Slow, slow breath, jaw relaxed and open. So this breathing out through the mouth helps ensure that the jaw doesn't try to do the core work. It also helps to find that steady sound quality that we're looking for in Ujjayi Pranayama. When you get to your last one, your third one, and you've exhaled and tucked your knees back in towards your belly, then release your legs out long, stretching them long onto the ground. And stretch your arms above your head. As you lengthen out, imagine somebody's at your hands, pulling your hands away from your head. And somebody's at your feet, pulling your feet away from your head. So you're being lengthened through all the joints of your body and right along the spine. This next time that you exhale, roll on over to your left side, keeping your left arm above you on the ground. We're going to come into what's called lounge lizard. So as you roll to your left side, walk your left hand closer to your hips so you're propped up on your left hand. And then look down the right side of your body, the top side of your body, and see that all of your joints are in line. So if you're on the edge of the mat, that's a good line to work with. Get your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and your left hand all on one line and bring your right hip to stack right on top of your left. It'll want to drop back. Use your right hand in front of you for balance, and then feel that when you sink into your left hand a little bit and let your left shoulder slide up and let your head, your left ear rest on your left shoulder, if that curve, that stretch along your left side is breathable. If it feels like it's too much, walk your left hand farther out away from your hip or even beyond your forearm. Find the place where you can sink down using gravity here, opening some of the breathing muscles between the ribs and into the diaphragm and the waist. Focusing that ocean-sounding breath into your left side, letting go of the weight of your head, any tension in your jaw. And as you find that stretch through your left side, feel that your feet are pressing away as though they're up against a wall. And you can feel the heels and the balls of the big toes and the balls of the little toes, the 4 corners of your feet, all in the same plane. like the soles of your feet are pressing against a wall. And as you press through your feet, that helps lengthen the knees and focuses this curve, this stretch, into the spine instead of into the knees. Giving that stretch one more big breath, one more slow inhale into your left side. And then as you exhale, slide your left arm down. Keep everything that you have in terms of alignment, but just come down onto your left side with your left arm above you on the ground. And turn your left palm up towards the sky. Slide your shoulders down. Use your right hand in front of you for balance still, keeping your feet still engaged like they're against a wall. Now lift both of your legs up off the ground, pressing out through the four corners of your feet. So your knees are long, shoulders broad. Let your head rest. If you need to lift and look and see where your toes are or where your alignment is, fine. But then release your head. And feel that the lifting of your legs is not only your leg muscles, but your side waist, your right waist is shrinking. If you want to take this a little bit deeper, keep the legs lifted, the right shoulder dropped, and start to lift your left arm, the one above your head. And if you're doing that, see if you can do that not by bending your wrist or elbow, but by shrinking your right side a little bit more and lengthening out through the curve of the left side. Notice if your head is trying to lift your arm. See if you can release your head a little bit and lift your arm underneath your head instead. Keep the breath flowing. It's really easy to stop breathing on this one for some reason. Use your next inhale to find a little bit more lift and length through the curve, and then use your exhale to release. Roll on over to your right side. We'll set up for lounge lizard on the right side. As you roll over, prop up onto your right hand so that you can look down the left side of your body, as opposed to the front. It's deceptive if you look down the front. So looking down the side of your body and seeing that your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and right hand are all in one line. Bringing your left hip right on top. So if you're really feeling your hips in this one, the lounge lizard and the side half moon, feel free to use a blanket to cushion under your hip. Then engage through your feet, so you're getting the four corners of your feet. And as you find the length of your legs, a little bit of energy in your feet, let your right shoulder slide up. This is probably the only time I'll encourage you to let the shoulders slide up. Then release your head, let it rest on your shoulder, and check if that curve, that stretch in your right side is breathable, or if you need to walk your right hand out or be on your forearm. Using the breath throughout the practices as a way of assessing, can you be in what you're doing? Can you breathe into it? If not, change it, adjust it for you. Bringing your attention into your right side. Feel free to close your eyes if that helps. See if you can feel a little bit more space open in between the ribs, right all the way up under the right shoulder, the right underarm, and breathing some space into the ribs, the waist, and just above the hip. And then when we find some space there, it makes it easier to lie on the right side fully with the shoulder open. Use your next exhale to release all the way down, keeping what you have in your legs as you slide down. Turn your right palm up, let your head rest. Continue to use your left hand for balance so you don't wobble back. Once you find your breath, lift your legs up, pressing through the soles of your feet. So if you need to, look down and see that your big toes are in line with your little toes. It's usually the little toes that need to be drawn up a little bit. Drop the left shoulder down. Keep the breath flowing. If you want to make it a little bit more intensive, start to lengthen out and lift through the long arm above your head, your right arm, using more of your core strength than your neck strength for this. With your next exhale, release down, and as you release, roll in onto your belly. Scoot back in onto the mat and bring your hands underneath your shoulders and your feet outside the mat so that your big toes are just outside the edges of the mat. When you find that alignment, big toes just at the outer edges of the mat, then feel that your little toes also face the ground. All 10 toenails are looking at the ground. Slide your hands back underneath you so that your thumbs are in line with your nipples. Then bring your forehead or your chin to the ground, whichever is easier for your nose. Aim back through your elbows so that you feel your shoulder blades slide onto your back and tuck your elbows in right next to your ribs. Apply some of the front core work that we did earlier with the water wheels by drawing your belly away from the ground, up towards your spine and up towards your ribs. Feel that lengthens your tailbone back towards your feet. You'll start to feel your pubic bones drop down towards the ground. Then reaching back through your legs are long, toenails still facing, touching the ground. Even with that core engagement, find your breath. With your body belly down, the breath has to move into the back a little bit more. So see if you can feel that. Tuning into your breath, use your inhale to lift your head and your chest and your hands. So just come to the point where you can lift your hands off the ground. Keep your gaze down so that the back of your neck is long, and then bring the heels of your hands down, where your hands connect to your forearms. And think of drawing yourself off the front edge of the mat, so you're tractioning your rib cage, your upper body, away from your lower body, as though you're dragging yourself forward. Tuck your elbows in, broaden your shoulders, open the back of your neck if you started to lead out with your chin. Think of leading more with your sternum, your breastbone. Then check that you can breathe here, and then see if it's possible for you to come up a little bit more and still breathe. Use your inhale to find that lift, and then as you exhale, keep drawing forward using the heels of your hands as you release back down towards the ground. Continue coming up and down with your breath, using the inhale to lift up, drawing forward as you come up. Exhale, draw forward as you release down. Use the expansion, the levitation quality of the inhale to bring you up. Then as the breath goes out of the body, drawing forward and releasing down. So you can feel the upper backs of the arms, the triceps, engaging to help draw you out of your hips. Feel that your waist lengthens. Notice that your feet want to lift up as your upper body comes up, so planting your 10 toenails to face the ground, especially the little toenails. This alignment of your legs helps to keep the pelvis open so that you have room to stretch your tailbone back, so you're not pinching the low back. Finding the point that you can come up to, the highest point that you can lift up to, this next inhale that allows you to breathe fully and keep the shoulders on the back and the elbows tucked in. And when you get there, hold it, but don't hold your breath. And look over your right shoulder and drop your right shoulder back away from your chin so you can feel that squeeze on your right side. You might be able to see your foot. Don't worry if you can't. But looking around, drop your shoulder back, squeeze on the right side, keep breathing, and even though you're looking back, use the heels of your hands to draw your ribcage forward. Use your next inhale to come back to center. Exhale, draw out as you release down. With your next inhale, come up, finding your length, your lift, keeping your toenails planted, low back long, elbows in, shoulders broad, back of the neck open. When you find your highest point, look over your left shoulder, drop your shoulder back away from your chin, so you're shrinking the left ribs. And even though you're looking back, maybe even seeing your left foot, keep drawing forward, tractioning your chest forward between your hands, breathing steadily. Use your next inhale to come back to center, and as you exhale, release out and down. And bring your arms stacked, one on top of the other, under your head as you come down. And walk your feet back onto the mat. Turn your toes in, your heels out. Check that that's okay for your knees. And then once you've settled, let go. Let your body release down. Let the weight of it drop, particularly allowing the underarms and the shoulders to release. And focusing your breath upwards into your back. Notice what you feel. What muscles along your spine have been strengthened or engaged? And does your breath have access to those muscles? Can you breathe a little more space, like an internal massage, into those muscles along your spine? Using the exhale to let go, to sink down a little more. Bring your arms now alongside your body with your palms facing down so your little fingers are right next to your thighs. Reach back through your fingers so your shoulder blades slide onto your back. And bring your forehead or your chin to the ground so that your neck is long and head is aligned. And then align your feet with your front hips so that your feet are not together, and they're also not as wide as they were in the last posture. Feels like your toes, ankles, knees, and front hips are in line. And then draw your low belly in and up so that you can aim your tailbone back towards your feet. You might even feel your front hips start to lift off the ground as you lengthen through your low back. Check that you can breathe with those engagements. And then use your next inhale to lift your right leg, reaching back through your toes as you take your right leg off the ground. If you get any cramping in your feet in this one, you can flex through your foot instead. Work to take the bend out of your knees, so starting to lengthen through your knees by lifting your thighs, but focusing in this half locust posture on finding the length of the leg more than the lift. So don't worry about how high your leg lifts. Focus on drawing it back like somebody's pulling it out of your body, and feel with your hands on the ground that you can even out your pelvis. So if you sank into your right hip or opened it to the side, feel that your front hips are about even with one another. Use the exhale to continue to lengthen as you bring your leg back down. And if you've really been in there lengthening, it will feel like your right leg is now longer. Take a big breath into your belly, fill it out. Let your arms and legs relax for that breath. Then as you exhale, empty out and draw your belly in and up. Reach your hands back so your shoulders are broad. Use your next inhale to lift your left leg and see if you can feel as you start that all 10 toes are still facing the ground. Your toenails are touching the ground so that you haven't squeezed your butt cheeks into center. You're keeping space to stretch your tailbone back. And then as though somebody is drawing that left leg out of your body, so pulling it back, you might feel that stretch right up into your left hip, left waist. Checking that you can breathe, you can inhabit it with your breath. Focusing on taking the length into the knee, the bend out of the knee. So one more inhale to find the length, the height that you can breathe into. And then use your exhale to release it back down. And hopefully now, when you come back down to the ground, your left leg feels as long as the right again. Use your hands on the ground to help you even out your pelvis as you take a slow breath into your belly, expand your back. Then as you exhale, draw your belly in and up, aim your tailbone back, feel your 10 toenails are on the ground. And as you inhale, lift both legs up, keeping your 10 toenails facing the ground. Use your hands pressing the floor away to help you leverage your legs up off the ground. Once you find your legs lifted, focus on the length. And again, if you get any cramping, flex. Otherwise, point through your toes. So when you find your legs lifted, as though somebody's pulling them out, take your hands a little bit wider so that they're off the mat, onto whatever is the surface below your mat. And keep reaching back through your fingers, sliding your shoulders back away from your neck. Tuning into your breath. Use your next inhale to lift your head and chest, and if you want, your hands. Or you can keep them on the ground. So see what feels stronger for you, more dynamic for you. Keep looking down towards the ground, and instead of leading out with your chin, see if you can lift another set of ribs up off the ground. So lead out, lengthen out with your sternum, and draw up so the back muscles are contracting. This is boat pose. So see if you can start to feel the breath like the water, the flow of water, the waves underneath your boat. Use the exhale to lengthen, the inhale to feel if there's any more lift possible. Stretching the top of your head away from your toes and fingers. Give it one more breath to rise up, and then use your exhale to release down into crocodile. So bring your stacked arms under your head, turn your toes in, heels out, and let your body release. It will probably want to if you fully engaged in that last posture. So let the weight of it go, and yet breathe up into your back. Expand your back muscles. Breathe along your spine. Bring your hands again under your shoulders and draw your belly up into your back, like we did in those last ones. So you can feel that your low back is supported, your tailbone is pointing back a little bit. Press up onto hands and knees. So you're coming into table pose. As you bring your hips above your knees, see that your thighs are parallel to each other, roughly a fist width apart between your inner knees, and bring your hands under broad shoulders. So you may have to walk your hands back a little bit, finding where your fingers spread out, so open the fingers. Lift your wrists and your thumbs. And if you're not able to lift both wrists and both thumbs, then plant one hand and do the other one, so that you can take the weight into the hand that's planted and focus just as much through the one that's lifted as you can breathe into. So taking a few breaths into lifting your wrists and your thumbs, spreading your fingers out wide from each other, and then down long into the mat. When you have a good stretch through both hands, through both sets of fingers, then we're going to move the spine with the breath. So now you have your hands planted, push the ground away with your hands with the front of your shins and your feet, and let your back arch up towards the ceiling into cat pose, letting your tail and your head drop down. Pause here for a few breaths. See that you can't see your feet because they're right behind your knees. And then feel that you're tucking your belly up into your low back to help fan the low back open. Spread out through the low back. Pressing down through your feet, your shins, your hands to leverage the back up. And then as you inhale next, lift your tailbone up towards the sky and roll up your spine until your head lifts. And when you get there, take a few breaths and pause. Here in cow pose, slide your shoulder blades down away from your neck and in towards your spine, so that the shoulder blades are kind of like little hands. Instead of those little hands coming up to strangle your neck, slide them down behind your heart to help press the heart open, the upper chest forward between the upper arms. Then go back and forth between these two. Use your exhale to arch up into cat pose and your inhale to arch open into cow, moving with your pace of breathing. Taking it as slow as you can initially so you can maintain all of your points of precision. Finding where the movement is up and down. It's really easy with cat and cow initially, if you haven't done this before, to end up moving forward and back. Instead of doing that, keep your hips right above your knees and find the movement of your spine up and down, and how that movement affects your hips and your shoulders. Using this to also stretch your hands, so keep the base of the fingers planted, and to stretch open the feet, so pressing down through your shins and the front of your feet. If you have trouble sliding your shoulders back, drawing your chest forward on the inhale, your hands may be too close together, so see if you can find the placement where your wrists are under broad shoulders. Cat and cow is one of the foundational practices. It's something we do pretty much every single time, the spinal flex. So it's worth getting to know this posture. And if you're looking for something to do that isn't a longer practice, cat and cow is a great place to start, great benefit. Brings fluidity to the entire nervous system, the spine, which extends out into the arms and legs. This next time that you inhale, bring your spine neutral, table position, and look over your right shoulder, drop your shoulder back, and draw your right hip up towards your right shoulder. Shrink the right waist. Use your inhale to come back to center, head and tail stretching away from each other, then exhale over to the left side. Drop your left shoulder back away from your chin and draw your hip up towards your shoulder. Then moving at your pace of breathing, inhale center and exhaling to the side. Feeling how one side of the ribs fans open, the other side shrinks in. And noticing if you can't see your hip. A lot of times with this one, the hips avoid you. So actively pull them around towards your shoulder, like there's a little bungee cord between your hip and shoulder, and it shrinks in. With cat and cow, we just did the up and down movement of the spine, the forward and back, and now we're going side to side. This next time you inhale and your back is center, keep one hand planted and flip the other hand so that your fingernails face the ground. Your fingertips are pointing towards your knee, and the whole back of your hand, all the way up to your wrist, is on the ground. Take the weight into the other hand so that you can determine how much weight you're dropping into the back of your wrist, finding where you can breathe into that stretch in the back of the wrist. If you're not quite feeling it and the whole back of your hand is on the ground, then you can start to lengthen through your elbow and sink your weight back a little bit. So find your edge, your place. Then replant that hand. As you do, spread your fingers out so you have triangles of color between all of your fingers and your thumb. Then roll down through the lengths of your fingers. When you have the weight in that hand, come over to the other wrist, planting the back of the hand and finding the stretch on this side. Keep the breath flowing, even in these little stretches. Imagine your breath moving into your wrist, as though it could. And then replanting that second hand, so you're rolling down through wide spread fingers, and as the fingers and the hands come down to the ground, give yourself enough room to have the wrists under broad shoulders. So for most people, when you spread your fingers out and your wrists are under broad shoulders, your little fingers will come close to the edges of the yoga mat. Then coming back into cat and cow, push the ground away and roll from your tailbone up to your head in both directions. Exhale as you arch your back up in cat pose. Inhale as you slide your shoulders back and let the head and tail lift for cow. It's really easy in cow pose to have a sway in the back. That's the easy part. So focus on opening the upper back, upper chest, by drawing the shoulder blades down and in, so you create some space at the back of the neck. We're going to move this into prana apana, the balance of energies coming in and energies going out. So this next time that you inhale into cow pose, your head is lifted, take your right knee off the ground and reach your right toes way away from your head, lengthen through your right leg. Then as you exhale and you push the ground away like you would for cat pose, tuck your right knee underneath and see if you can get your head and knee close together or even touching. Then continue with that movement. Inhale, stretch back, head away from foot, and then exhale, tuck your knee in towards your head. And if your head and knee are not yet connecting, just each exhale, push the ground away with your left shin, the base of your fingers, and arch your back up higher. Tuck your belly in. That creates more room for you to draw the knee in underneath. Starting on the right side with this, because this stimulates digestion and the flow of the very end of the digestive tract. The colon goes from upper right down to left and then out. So if you forget or you're not sure why, remember to start on the right so you move with the flow of digestion. Finding the length on the inhale from the head to the toes and then tucking in on the exhale. The next time that you exhale, release your right knee down and flow right over to the left side. Inhale, stretch long through the left toes, leg lifting and reaching back. Exhale and tuck your knee in towards your head and see if there's any difference. If your head gets closer to your knee on this side, if you can feel any difference in your hips. And as you find the rhythm of it, the reach long, taking the bend out of the knee on the inhale and then tucking the knee in on the exhale, see if you can also find the shoulders on your back as you inhale, so you have space around your neck, a sense of opening your heart. And then the shoulders can spread open as you exhale. Taking one more breath here. When you exhale and tuck in, then release your left knee and shift back to kneeling, keeping your knees in line with your front hips, taking your butt cheeks back over your heels. Release your head down so you come into a little child pose, using your hands to press the ground away so you're coming into extended child. As you walk your butt back over your heels, breathe into your low back. Let your head release. If it doesn't touch the ground, just let it drop towards the ground. And And then uncurl from here to kneeling. Use your inhale to uncurl upwards and check whether or not kneeling works for your ankles and your knees. So if it doesn't, if it's challenging on those joints, then you might find that sitting on a block or a blanket between your feet helps. And as you find your kneeling posture and any support that you need for kneeling, if that doesn't work, you can always come to sitting cross-legged. Stretch your fingers down towards the ground. If you touch the ground, that's fine. Lift up through your sternum, up through the back of your skull, so the spine's really long. Keep all of that height and the evenness of your shoulders as you release your head to the right, so your right ear drops towards your right shoulder. Keeping the shoulders dropping down onto the back and your breath rising up into the left side of your neck. So really focusing on that same quality of breath that we had at the beginning when you weren't holding yourself up and you could feel the belly and the low back fill, and then the rib cage fill, and then the upper chest, collarbones and neck fill. So at the very end of the inhale, feel that increased stretch into the inside of your neck. If you want to make this a little more intensive, you can turn your palms up and tuck your elbows in so you look like Lady Justice with the scales. But if you do that, check and be sure that you can still breathe easily and you're able to keep your jaw relaxed, your tongue relaxed. Now this next time that you exhale, release your head down, and when you get to center of your collarbones, then interlace your fingers out in front, palms facing each other, and stretch your arms forward as you scoop your belly back and curve through your low back, just like you would for cat pose, breathing along the curve of your spine. Hug your arms in towards your ears and use your arms to help lift your head up. Inhale your arms and head up, stretch up like you're going to lift up off the ground, and then exhale and separate your hands, reach down towards the ground. And as you find where your fingertips feel even or touch the ground evenly, let your head release to the other side, to the left, finding where you can release the weight of the head without clenching the jaw. Lifting your breath up into the right side of the neck. If you want to intensify this, turn your palms up, tuck your elbows in, but check that you can release the weight of the head. If it's too intense, you can always turn your nose or your chin towards your shoulder, and that may soften it a little bit. Looking for working with gravity with this, using gravity to take the head down, and then the breath to increase the stretch. So locating your inhale in that space between your ear and your shoulder on the right side. This next time that you exhale, release your chin down, and when you find your head at center, shift forward onto hands and knees again, stretching your fingers out as you bring them down. And keeping the space around your neck that you just created, so shoulders on your back. Stretch out the calves from sitting kneeling for so long. Curl your right toes under on the ground and reach back through your heel. So as you lift your right knee off the ground, you stretch long through your right leg. Aim your heel behind your toes so that you get a stretch in your calf, your lower leg. Keeping your shoulders broad, lots of space around your neck. If you feel your low back is swaying, tuck your belly up into your low back. If you want to deepen this stretch, you can lift your left knee off the ground, but keep your shoulders broad. Take a big breath into your lower leg and use your exhale then to release. Switch sides. Checking that your heel is back behind your toes so that you can feel the lower leg, the calf muscles stretching out. Shoulders are on your back. If you want to deepen, take your right knee off the ground and shift your weight back without crowding the neck. And when you feel you have a good stretch on that side, then release down onto your back. Finding your alignment in Shavasana, or relaxation resting pose. Reach your heels away from your head. When you find the backs of your legs long, let your feet relax away from each other. Then turn your palms up and stretch your fingers, your arms down away from your head so that your upper back is broad. Shoulders are broad underneath you. And that action of lengthening your arms may have overarched your low back. So if you need to, shimmy your butt down or out so your low back is comfortable. Get a sense that your ankles are in line with your hips and your shoulders, letting your feet relax. And that you have a little bit of space between your arms and your body so that you have room for your upper back to broaden into the ground. As you find ease through your low back, see if you can start to find the same kind of ease through your neck. So those natural curves that lift up away from the ground, your low back and your neck, feel that they're not overarched or overstretched. Get a sense that your chin is about in line with your forehead. And if you're not sure if your head is in line with your body, you may even need to lift your head up and look down your midline and see that your nose is in line with the center of your body. When you've released your head, fully release the weight of your head on the ground. Let your eyes close and your eyes be still and heavy behind your closed eyelids. Allow your top and bottom teeth to separate a little bit so that your jaw is relaxed. And notice if your tongue is pressed against the roof of your mouth or your teeth. Let your tongue relax towards the back of your mouth. Then let go of your breath. If you're still actively breathing, release it. And notice where it goes in the body. It will tend to drop down into the belly when you're relaxed. And it's also likely to become softer and shallower. Giving yourself this time here to be still and aligned and to release the engagement of the body that you were cultivating before. So noticing if your muscles are still pulling inwards or upwards. Allow the muscles of your body to drape heavily over the bones so that you're feeling the weight of your body sinking down. Instead of trying to lift yourself off the ground, sink down. In Shavasana, or corpse pose, practicing letting go. Instead of corpse being a morbid idea of a dead body, it's a useful practice for letting die, letting go of what isn't needed, and experimenting with stillness. That's the challenge with this practice, to be still and present. And it's one of the more challenging postures because only you know if you are still and present, especially if you're practicing on your own. When you notice your attention is active, it's moving elsewhere, outside of the breath, outside of the release and stillness of the body, reconnect. Let go of whatever it was that took your attention elsewhere and come back into the breath. Where is it? Is it coming in or going out or the space in between? Tune your mind to the rhythm of the breath, watching it without doing it. If you have more time and you'd like to continue to rest in this posture, feel free to give yourself that time to be still and present. In order to emerge out of this posture with minimal effort, bring your attention to your breath in your belly and move from passive breathing to active breathing. So each inhale becomes a little bit bigger. Having done this breathing before, notice now if there's any difference. Is there any more space to breathe into or any greater sense of ease or release in the body, a greater sense of letting go. So as you feel your torso expand with the breath, with the inhale, then exhale and empty out. Let go of what isn't needed. And then start to visualize that the breath extends all the way down, filters into the legs and the feet, the balls of the toes, and down through the arms and the hands and all of the fingers, and up through the spine to the head. And as you breathe into the whole body, allow your body to move. It might feel good to wiggle your hands or feet, or circle them, or stretch long through your arms and legs. If you're feeling really tired, you might want to stay really still as long as possible. And as you re-engage your arms and legs, minimize the effort. Make it really easy, so you're not creating tension as you start to bring yourself back to life. Either draw the knees in or just roll over to your right side and bend your knees a little bit. Find an easy place on your right side where your head can rest on your arm or on the floor. And then bring your left hand in front of you and push the ground away with your left hand to help bring yourself up without pulling up with your neck. Once you're up tall, finding whatever comfortable seat works for you, as you inhale, lift your arms up overhead, gather up the breath, the energy, the awareness you'd like to take with you off the mat. Bring your palms together and draw your hands down along the center of your body, acknowledging yourself for being present with yourself. And if you're practicing with anyone else, acknowledging them. Namaste.